It's 6 o'clock. This is Anglia Tonight.
We're first with the news from Suffolk, Essex and Norfolk.
Flying into controversy, why protesters are furious at plans to fast-track the inquiry into a second runway at Stansted.
If we have two sessions hearing different but interrelated subjects, there's no way that our one barrister can manage that process.
So is the government trying to railroad a decision through before the next election? Also tonight...
Take a chance at a level crossing, and it's only a matter of time.
A stark new TV advert about safety. As it emerges, our region has one of the worst records for taking chances on the line.
Plus, a dream come true, a dramatic victory for the region's boy racer who's made the whole country proud.
Christmas comes early. How cash-strapped shoppers are already hitting the streets to pick up bargain presents.
And I'll be meeting the amateur bodybuilding champion who at 53 has proved he's still got what it takes.
Hello from Stephen and me, welcome to the programme.
So first tonight, the government has been accused of trying to railroad through plans for a second runway at Stansted Airport.
Originally, the public inquiry had been expected to take more than a year, but now the whole process has been fast-tracked and could be complete in just 6 months.
Well, the move has angered opposition groups who've accused Labour of trying to push through the proposals before the next general election. Let's join Timothy Evans, who's at Stansted for us this evening. Tim, how could such a complex inquiry be done in such a quick time?
Good evening, Stephen. Well, the plan is to achieve that by splitting the public inquiry into perhaps a dozen or so different topics. Road and rail links, the local heritage could be perhaps two of those topics, and then to examine some of them two at a time in simultaneous hearings. Now, the plan has angered the local opposition group Stop Stansted Expansion. They fear their single barrister will be unable to represent them effectively at simultaneous hearings. But local authorities are annoyed too. They say many of these topics are interrelated and cannot be examined in isolation. So what do we have? Well, a second runway plan, which is proving controversial, and a public inquiry, which is already controversial 5 months before it started.
The question of whether these houses near Stansted will have a new runway on their doorstep could be resolved sooner rather than later. The controversial plan is for a second runway to be built at the Essex Airport parallel to the existing runway, allowing passenger numbers in time to more than double. There's considerable opposition to the idea, which would see houses and countryside disappear in the area around Bambers Green and Molehill Green. A public inquiry into the proposal is due to start next year.
These briefing notes have been handed to Anglia News, and they suggest that as many as 3 additional inspectors could be appointed to look at separate subject areas. Though the notes do make it clear that at any one time only 2 simultaneous hearings will be in session.
Essex County Council today added its voice to the growing chorus of opposition to the plan.
I can only conclude they want to rush it through, and June 2010 is in people's minds, and certainly the Conservative Party has said that they would oppose a second runway and that they would not implement it. And I can only conclude that they only want to rush this through for political reasons.
Last month, local campaigners joined a demonstration at Westminster opposing climate change and airport expansion. They say they can only afford legal representation at a single hearing.
This will severely compromise the community's ability to make its case at the public inquiry. If we have two sessions hearing different but interrelated subjects, there's no way that our one barrister can manage that process while BAA has 5 barristers managing its case.
Officials at Stansted are unwilling to publicly join the debate. One source at BAA said they want to see an efficient public inquiry process which is fair to all sides. The proposed timetable is considerably shorter than had been expected. January next year had been the original start date for a public inquiry. That was delayed 3 months to give local councils more time to prepare their case. 6 months of public hearings would see the inquiry end in October. By early 2010, the inspector's report could go to the government. In theory, by June 2010, the latest date for a general election, a decision could have been taken on a second runway. Stansted's largest airline, Ryanair, warned today it could slide into the red in the second half of the year due to rising oil prices. But it's hoping losses will be cancelled out by profits in the first half of the year. Those profits are down, though, by almost 50%, but Ryanair's boss was determined not to be downbeat.
Despite the fact that oil prices have doubled in the last year, we've reduced fares by 4% and we've still managed to make over €200 million of profit.
The progress of the second runway public inquiry will be debated at a pre-inquiry hearing next week. The inspector will calendar pressure to timetable one issue at a time. It's thought that could result in hearings going on anything up to 18 months, when Labour may or may not be the party in power.
Tim, given that we're in the middle of an economic downturn, what kind of impact is that going to have on the Stansted expansion plans?
Well, surprise, surprise, Clare, there are conflicting views even on that. There certainly is an economic downturn. Passenger numbers here are down perhaps around 5% on last year. Now, opponents of expansion say that provides a useful breathing space to look at all the issues that surrounding a second runway and to take time to see whether a second runway is really needed. But the supporters of a second runway say they're essentially looking at the long term. The sort of timescale they've got in mind is up to the year 2030, when there certainly will be a need for a second runway and when perhaps this economic downturn is long gone.
Tim, thank you very much. Well, let's go straight from Stansted now to Westminster and speak to our political correspondent, Emma Hutchinson. So, Emma, what's been the reaction from the government today?
Well, Stephen, the government are keen to point out that this whole process will be done properly, and they also say that everyone will get a fair say. They say that they believe having a shorter inquiry, an inquiry lasting just about 6 months possibly, and also having simultaneous hearings actually could benefit smaller pressure groups. They say that's because if an inquiry drags on, then it's more expensive to hire a lawyer for maybe years rather than just 6 months. They say look at the whole planning process for Heathrow Terminal 5, which took about 7 years. They say it's when inquiries drag on like that it makes it more difficult for smaller groups and individuals to be able to represent themselves at those kind of length of inquiries.
And what do the Conservatives say about it, Emma?
Well, one Conservative MP that I spoke to today described the whole process as a farce. The Conservative, of course, David Cameron, has said that he is opposed to a second runway at Stansted, that if he was in government, it would not go ahead. I spoke to the local MP for Stansted. He said he believes the government are playing politics with this whole issue.
There is a smack of cynicism about this, which I'm afraid ministers are guilty of, which is to try to push through decisions in a way that's very partisan. This is a long-term investment decision. It shouldn't be rushed in this way. If they are to look at all the issues with care, they should do it properly, and then we can get to the right result at the end of that process.
And of course, we'll know more about the process after the pre-inquiry hearing. But MPs say that unless they think the whole thing is being done fairly, that they will lobby the government very hard indeed to get the process changed and, if necessary, to try and get it made longer.
Thank you, Emma. Next tonight, a hard-hitting TV advert's gone on screen to warn of the dangers of misusing level crossings.
Well, according to Network Rail, East Anglia has the worst record of any region, with 5 people dying on crossings in the past 2 years. John Francis reports.
Network Rail say half-barrier level crossings like this one at Swainsthorpe on the London line outside Norwich are safe if used correctly. There are more than 7,500 of them on this country's railway system. Unfortunately, we're all too familiar with accidents like the one which happened here in March last year when a car was hit by a train and shoved down the line. The driver died. Local people are well aware of what goes on.
I have seen people going across on the red warning light to try and make a quick one.
I have thought, oh, you silly devil, you know, they go over when the barriers are coming down. People just take chances nowadays. Everybody's in a hurry.
In fact, our region has the worst record in the country for incidents on level crossings. Between January and September this year, there were 359. 2 of them were fatal. Of that total, around 200 involved a pedestrian, but motorists are taking risks too. In the same period, there were 155 incidents involving a vehicle.
Well, we're continually looking at engineering solutions, enforcement solutions, prosecutions, detections. We're also looking at education campaigns and safety campaigns.
The new Network Rail television commercial warns against accidental misuse and the risks that people run when they try to dodge round the barriers.
Really got to go and get some shut eye. When my head hits the pillow, I'm straight out.
Take a chance at a level crossing, and it's only a matter of time. Level crossings, please, don't run the risk.
Network Rail say deliberate violations form the biggest proportion of incidents at crossings, and that creates the biggest risk of train crashes. John Francis, Anglia News, Swainsthorpe.
You're watching Anglia Tonight. It's 10 minutes past 6. Next, Lewis Hamilton's hometown of Stevenage is leading the celebrations today after their most famous son entered the motor racing history books.
The 23-year-old became Formula One's youngest ever world champion in Brazil yesterday afternoon.
But he certainly kept everyone on the edge of their seats in the thrilling 2-hour race, the win coming down to the final lap, of course. Neil Bradford reports.
The best songs on the radio, the best of Hertfordshire. It's Heartbeats FM on the fantastic day when Lewis Hamilton, world champion, and from Stevenage. The boy done good from Stevenage. Congratulations.
To say Stevenage is proud is perhaps the understatement of the year. Everyone here is talking about just one man, and no one will let you forget where he grew up. In the town centre, local businesses have been quick to honour their hero, shoppers quick to join the adulation.
Yeah, good boy. Well done.
Good for Stevenage?
Very good for Stevenage.
So are you proud of Lewis Hamilton?
I don't know who he is, but...
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm actually... I don't know who he is.
Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, I know who he is. I watch
I'm really proud.
Yeah, I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of him.
One man from Peterborough certainly knew who Lewis Hamilton was even 10 years ago. He bet £150 that Hamilton would be a world champion before he turned 23. Yesterday afternoon, Richard Hopkins picked up a cool £125,000.
We had 3 bets, one, as I say, to win a race, one to win the World Championship, and the double, so the 2 odds combined at 1,500 to 1. So £350 investment 10 years ago has paid dividends 10 years later.
Only a few corners to go now, and desperation starts to creep in for Lewis Hamilton.
Raikkonen's third, and is that Glock? Is that Glock going slowly?
It is, it's Glock! Oh my goodness me! Hamilton's back in position again. 100,000 local hearts sink in the grandstands. It's handed the place back to Hamilton. He comes through, and if I'm absolutely right, I'm sure that he is going to claim 5th place, which is all he needs to do to become the 2008 Formula One world champion.
As the world's youngest ever Formula One world champion, Lewis Hamilton's world today couldn't be more different from his humble beginnings here in Pear Tree Way, Stevenage. His talent for driving was spotted at an early age at the Rye House Karting Centre, some 30 miles away at Hoddesdon. His love of cars and motor racing was almost certainly a family affair. One neighbour who used to watch him play outside his living room window can't quite believe that that little boy is now the global sports hero he watches on the television.
I didn't watch it all because it was too heart-stopping and I thought he was going to lose it. I missed it like an awful lot of people did at the end, and then I caught it that he'd won, and I was absolutely over the moon for him. It's the greatest thing that he could have done.
What do you think that we could do to mark what Lewis did yesterday?
News of Lewis Hamilton's heart-stopping victory is also the talk of his former junior school, Pear Tree Spring. The motto here is reach for the stars. Yesterday afternoon, he did just that.
I can see the Lewis that I saw in school in the Lewis today. He's always conducted himself, as far as I'm concerned, in a very appropriate manner, dealing with the press and all the pressures that he's been under. He's always been incredibly polite, and I think he's done himself proud, and his family must be absolutely delighted.
Stevenage Borough Council already plans to name a street after the F1 hero. Now it hopes to organise a civic reception too.
We would love Lewis to come here and do an open-top bus tour for us. We're hoping that his great victory will be celebrated nationally as well. And we are, of course, naming a street after Lewis in our brand new town centre development here.
The town centre manager also has high hopes Lewis Hamilton will return home soon.
We would love Lewis to come and turn on the Christmas lights here in Stevenage. It's the biggest event that we organise in the year, and all the people who come would love to see Lewis press the button.
Lewis Hamilton has already added a ray of Brazilian sunshine on a miserable November day. His homecoming is likely to light up the entire year.
Sure is delight all round, but talk about taking it to the wire. Well, you can find more reaction to Lewis Hamilton's victory and links to the race coverage on our website, itvlocal.com/Anglia.
Well, still so much more to come this evening, so don't go away.
We'll be catching up with the weekend sport. Amanda's got the weather forecast, and there's plenty more besides.
Dickie's Champion Sausage. The famous umpire helps to pick the region's best banger, but what makes it so tasty?
Very nice.
And a man of iron. He's a national bodybuilding champion. How does Alan's wife cope with the pressure of keeping him fed?
It's been a gloomy start to November. It was cloudy skies here in the market town of Wymondham in Norfolk, which is a far cry from some of the good amounts of sunshine we had in October, and it even ended up being sunnier than August or September of this year. But I'm afraid there's little sunshine to look forward to over the next couple of days. Join me at 6:25 for all the details.
Coming up on tonight's evening news, a tale of two races with history in the making. We speak to Lewis Hamilton, the youngest man to become Formula One champion, and he tells us he thought he'd blown it. Plus, we report on the climax of the race for the White House. Can Barack Obama also make history, or will John McCain stage one last fight back? All of that and more at 6:30.
An inquest has opened into the death of a Norfolk media executive killed in an air crash last week. 49-year-old Ian Davis from Topcroft died after the light aircraft he was flying in hit a crop-spraying tractor at Seething Airfield. Mr Davis was a director with Archant, which publishes titles including the Eastern Daily Press and Norwich Evening News. The plane's owner, Stephen Shutt, was also flying with Mr Davis. He remains at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge.
7 members of a gang who carried out violent raids in Ipswich and Colchester have been jailed for more than 70 years. The men, who held up cash vans as they made deliveries, were only caught when their leader was shot dead by police in Hampshire. Today at Kingston Crown Court, getaway driver Terence Wallace on the right and Adrian Johnson were sentenced to 17 years each. The other members received between 5 and 12 years each.
A new billboard campaign encouraging young people to take a stand against knife crime was launched today. It shows images of young people holding signs with the message, "I say no to knives." The posters will be put up nationwide, including in Southend and Norwich. It's aimed at deterring youngsters from arming themselves with knives.
It's only a minority that carry knives, it's only a minority who are a real problem, but it's trying to get the majority to stand up, and that's what young people themselves have said will make a difference. Getting young people to speak out and speak up will influence even those youngsters that are regarded as hard to reach.
A real-life angel raised the roof at Norwich Cathedral this weekend. 18-year-old Laura Wright, seen here rehearsing, is a member of the All Angels Band, who had the fastest-selling debut album in classical music history. But on Saturday night, she performed a solo concert. The teenager from Framlingham in Suffolk starred alongside the Ipswich and Norwich Co-op Band to raise money for the Make-A-Wish charity.
Cathedrals all around the world are so beautiful, and they're so special because of the acoustic we get, and it really is like no other to perform. It's a very special venue. Obviously this is a solo concert for me, so it's quite scary, also exciting at the same time.
Well, I haven't even thought about mine yet, but did you go Christmas shopping at the weekend?
No. Plenty of people did, though. Apparently, it all started 3 weeks earlier than usual as consumers try to beat the credit crunch by spreading the cost of the festive season. Natalie Gray joined them.
Hazel and Steve Mortimer from Attleborough in Norfolk are among the hordes of people starting their Christmas shopping early this year, 3 weeks early, to help spread the cost.
I think it's a matter of we have to cut back because of the way things are these days, and if a shop is doing 3 for 2, now's the time to get it.
We're buying sort of kiddies clothing, adults clothing, cosmetic items, some hardware, homewares, and I think it's just, while you've got a bit of money spare at this time of the year, start early. The sales are on in the shops.
Christmas shopping before bonfire night? Well, yes. Norwich's car parks were full. With so many bargains about, people seem to be squirreling away a few presents at a time to avoid a last-minute spend in December.
In October, I bought a load of toys. Today has been for my husband, my daughter, my son-in-law, and one of my eldest grandsons as well.
And why are you starting so early?
To spread the cost, because it's, with this credit crunch, you've got to.
Basically starting earlier, trying to spread a bit of costs.
Experts don't expect a downturn in Christmas spending as we all seek festive cheer and family comfort after months of depressing economic news.
According to retail analyst TNS World Panel, people have put the brakes on spending when it comes to big things like a new car, but they still want a good Christmas. And that's borne out at the Gerald's department store in Norwich.
Although the feeling is that people are more hard up this year, that it's difficult times, people are definitely shopping earlier. We had a fantastic day in the store yesterday. People are looking more carefully perhaps at what they're buying, but they are definitely shopping for Christmas early.
But are we changing our shopping habits by just buying for our nearest and dearest instead of getting presents for extended family and friends?
Instead of buying for the adults and the children, we're buying this year just for the children. We've squared it with the adults. They do it for us, we do it for them. We're all happy.
Are you just buying for nearest and dearest this year rather than extended friends and family? A lot of people are cutting back on lists.
I must admit, we have discussed that one this morning on the way in, so probably not going to be spending quite as much this year.
Hazel and Steve Mortimer spent £800 on presents last year. This year it'll be £500. Most of that money they've saved throughout the year. But 40% of shoppers won't have budgeted, and according to a national opinion poll, will finance their Christmas with their credit cards. Natalie Gray, Anglia News, Norwich.
On to sport now, and our region's first derby of the season certainly didn't disappoint supporters of Colchester and Southend.
A goal in the final seconds meant honours were even, but it's with another game in Essex that Jim Rice starts his roundup from the weekend.
With Colchester on away deployment, the Army were on manoeuvres at the Community Stadium this weekend for a Game of History charity match against a team of celebrities. The day had everything from a brass band, very historical, to some rather modern celebrities. That's Bianca Gascoigne and Stuart and Ziggy from Big Brother. Even News owner Robbie Cowling got a run out, but neither he nor Neville Southall could stop this Army offensive.
1-0 already to the Army.
Relax, Southend and Colchester fans, we haven't forgotten there was a rather bigger game in Essex this weekend, and what a game. Southend 2-0 up in 20 minutes through Peter Clark and Francis Laurent. Colchester came back with Johnny Jackson's deflected free kick, and with time already running out, equalised through Mark Yates. Anthony Wordsworth then stunned Roots Hall by heading the U's in front, but there was still more drama to come. 5 minutes of injury time on the clock when Jean-Francois Christophe got the final touch for a classic 3-3 draw. Ipswich didn't leave it quite as late, but they did leave it to substitute John Stead to win it in the wet at home to QPR. Stead's second was rather more emphatic than his first. Manager Jim Magilton was so happy with the win, he could only express himself in clichés.
Oh, over the moon. Absolutely delighted. I think that it was a real test of character today, test of resolve in very trying conditions. I thought we were outstanding to a man. Richard Wright makes a great save first half for us, keeps us in the game. But overall, I thought we deserved our victory. I thought we were very, very good.
If Magilton's over the moon in 8th place, then Glenn Roder's sick as a parrot in 19th. Eagles did for his Canaries at Burnley. Former Manchester United trainee Chris Eagles with 2 goals to make it 2 away defeats in a week for Norwich. It's not quite I'm a celebrity, get me out of here for Roder just yet, but exactly 1 year into the job, he'll know Big Brother is watching him. Jim Rice, Anglia News.
Former Norwich City striker David Nielsen has admitted match fixing in an interview on Danish television. Nielsen, who played for Norwich between 2001 and 2003, said he threw a game while playing for Danish team Aalborg against FC Copenhagen in May 2004 to pay off gambling debts. The Danish FA is investigating. It comes a month after the FA opened an investigation into match fixing and irregular betting on Norwich City's home game against Derby County on October the 4th.
Now, as one of cricket's most famous umpires, Dickie Bird's well used to being under pressure on the pitch.
How, though, would he cope when asked to judge the quality of the region's best sausages? Well, Tom Barton has been along to see him present the prizes for the best banger at Great Bromley near Colchester.
That's just not cricket.
Oh, very nice.
But it is cricket's most famous umpire, Dickie Bird. He's in Essex awarding prizes for sausages rather than sixes. This sausage in particular, the traditional pork sausage of Primrose Pork in Great Bromley near Colchester. It's the British Sausage Appreciation Society's best East Anglian sausage. The journey starts just a few hundred yards from the farm shop where the sausages are on sale. In this field on Robert Moss's farm. Along with his son, he rears around 600 porkers a year, all year round. And most go to make his now award-winning sausages. After almost 6 months of careful breeding, these pigs are about to leave the farm for the first and last time. But they will be coming back here to be made on the premises into sausages. The whole process of breeding the pigs and making the sausages is very much a family project. Robert's wife, Karen, packages up all the sausages by hand. Keeping the quantity low but the quality high is the cornerstone of this small but growing business.
We're very pleased with the way things are going. We've done our cash flows and everything for the year, and we soon realised that we'd underestimated by a long way the demand for our product.
Not much difference to the ashes, probably about the same size.
So what does the famous umpire make of this award-winning banger?
I think this is a richly deserved award. They deserved it, I think, so far today. And I've been in London today, I've sampled hundreds of sausages, and I think this, so far, is the best sausage that I've tasted today.
The sausage trophy may have been awarded, but the real prize for Robert's son, David, is, of course, getting his cricket bat signed by the great man.
There you are, young man.
Tom Barton, Anglia News at Great Bromley in Essex.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yes, yum, yum. Yes, now, not many men over the age of 50 can admit to having an award-winning torso, but one chap from Ipswich certainly can.
Alan Harris has come first in an amateur bodybuilding championship, and Victoria Webb has been to meet him.
At 53, Alan Harris is a lot fitter than most men his age. There wouldn't be many who could proudly show off a body like this. Alan spends on average 2 hours a day working out at his gym, and all of that hard work has paid off. At his last bodybuilding competition, he beat off all his competitors to take home the title of Mr. Britain over 50s.
That means a lot to me. Yeah, I wanted to do it. I wasn't expecting to win, and when I won it, quite elated, yeah.
Alan began training 20 years ago after giving up smoking and entered his first competition at 36. Now at an age when many of us are slowing down, he's fitter than ever, putting the younger weightlifters at the gym to shame.
They keep telling me I'll pack it up next year, won't I? I say no. Why pack it up? You know, if I can go down to the gym and keep fit, then that's what I'll do. And I like doing it, so why should I pack it up?
As well as all of the training, Alan really has to watch what he eats. In the 12 weeks leading up to a competition, he has to have a high-protein diet. Now, looking into his fridge, you can see that means lots of eggs. And he has to eat 8 meals a day.
Get up in the morning, have half a bowl of porridge with cold water. 2 hours after that, I'll probably eat chicken breast and some salad. 2 hours after that, egg whites, salad. Another 2 hours. Another chicken breast or tuna fish. It's like that every 2 hours, small portions, but regular.
With the top title under his belt, what's next for Alan?
Well, I probably won't like it, but I'd like to defend the title next year.
He's already begun training for the regional qualifier. While he's down at the gym, he can pass on a few tips to other bodybuilders, many of whom are a lot younger than him. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Ipswich.
There's a man you don't pick a fight with.
Absolutely not. Now, here's the weather with Amanda Houston.
For whatever life throws at you, protection from Norwich and Peterborough, sponsors of Anglia Weather.
Hello there. Well, there's a cloudy couple of days ahead with some drizzle tomorrow and then heavy rain on Wednesday. In the meantime, let's get back to today. As we can see from earlier, all this cloud has been feeding in over the UK, which has brought a fair bit of drizzle throughout the day, and that's still lingering over our region for the first part of this evening. But most places will become dry later on, although there's still some low cloud lingering, which could release 1 or 2 showers at times, and there's also the risk of some mist or fog patches developing. That's with lows of 9 degrees. So any mist or fog patches will clear in the morning, but it stays mostly cloudy with the odd bit of drizzle in places. But most places should become dry by the afternoon, and those winds become lighter, which means a milder day in highs of 11 degrees. So onto the 5-day outlook, and it's more cloudy and wet weather for Wednesday and Thursday, but it's slightly brighter with showers on Friday. Then it's a dry for a time on Saturday before the rain moves back in later. And those winds becoming much lighter than recent days, and the temperatures staying around the 11 or the 12 mark, although we could get up to a 13 on Friday. That's all from me then. Good night.
Protection from the experts at Norwich and Peterborough.
And that's it from Stephen and from me for this evening. See you for the late news at 10:30. For now, though, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning.
Rising stars, all here to celebrate his royal